Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. Once again, it's me and Kay. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. What's up? We see a little different look today. We both are wearing glasses for a change.
I know, just you can't really see my eyes, kind of the reflection is on there, but maybe I should just do this the whole time. But that looks very intense. Maybe we won't do
Yeah,
that.
that's okay.
um,
We can manage the glasses for this
yeah,
one.
but what we manage, it makes us look more intelligent, so we know what we're doing, of course. Anyway, yeah, we are just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts. It's what we love to do. We like to get trading perspectives that help us with our trading, basically. So with that, obviously, it's not financial advice. And then obviously a massive thank you to Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really, we really appreciate it. And just lastly, we do have a Christmas special next weekend, so we will be here next weekend. You excited for that, Kay?
I'm super excited. I remember we did a Christmas special last year as well, so we'll do it again this year. And the best part is that we will be going live every Sunday. So whether it's Christmas week or whether it's a New Year week, good news is both of them are falling in the middle of the week, so Sunday is not impacted. So if you're free and you are bored, hanging out with your family members for a change, you can feel free to join the stream.
It definitely helps that it falls in between the two kind of major events. So that's good over here. And lastly, obviously, if you do have any requests that you would like to add into the comments, then do so. We like to go through any stocks. It helps us find new stocks. And hopefully it helps you guys get some more kind of perspectives on those stocks as well. So go ahead and stick them in the comments. And without further ado, we'll jump into the presentation. Still not getting used to this platform. They've changed it slightly. There we go. We are here. So the week of December the 16th. So last week actually wasn't too bad. I don't know how you feel about it, Kay. Maybe you want to kick off from here?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, last week was a pretty intense week, I would say. Whether looking from a Tesla standpoint or whether you're looking from NVIDIA and AMD standpoint, it was thrilling nonetheless. Overall, if you see this, S&P 500 was down, like flat. I wouldn't say down. It was pretty flat. There's a lot of red, especially some greens though, and that has to do with the QQQ as well. So you can see some strong performance from Google. They came out with this massive news on quantum computing. So the stock really powered through. Apple, unfortunately, we haven't heard much from Apple lately, but it's been chugging along slowly. It's on the bear, like people are bearish about Apple for 2025. So we'll see how that plays out. And I'm not that excited about Apple either, but there's a lot of enthusiasm around Meta, made all-time high last week, and Amazon, like crazy, max
I know, yeah. Like you mentioned, Apple just keeps chugging along. Of course it does. And it's just reclaimed its original trend line. Perhaps we'll look at that a bit later on. Obviously, none of us are covering that. And you mentioned a little bit there, Meta as well. I am covering that this week on my individual chart. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting into that. And there's a possible trade idea that I want to kind of get into there as well. But yeah, Tesla and Google looking very, very good at the moment, heading into the end of the year. Let's move on. So surprisingly enough, we're at all-time highs on pretty much every single index, or at least have been in the last, the 5 to 10 days or so. And we're still sitting at neutral. In fact, right in the middle of 50. Do you think that's weird? Do you think there's still more upside to come, or do you think this is a bit kind of off?
I think the reason it is neutral right now is because we have the FOMC rate coming up on 12/18. I think they will cut the rate, and I think that will kind of push us into, a little bit more bullish, at least this week and next week. But also keep in mind that there will be a lot of tax loss harvesting, and let's cover that topic a little bit later in the show on how everybody should be thinking about tax loss harvesting for their account. I think that's the case. That's why we are neutral. They are probably waiting for the Fed decision on how it will go.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned that's on the 18th, which I believe is the Wednesday, off the top of my head. We also have PCE data on Friday as well before market open, which doesn't really move the market too much, but it is a data point that you should be aware of. You've got the VIX obviously sitting kind of medium, really, at kind of 1381. SPY down 0.5% this week, QQQ up 1%, so it's kind of flat on the week. We did have a few moves, kind of went up nicely on Wednesday and kind of dribbled back down Thursday, Friday. And Bitcoin looking good, holding $100,000 still. So it's exciting stuff for all those kind of crypto holders. Don't hold it myself, but I do dabble in trades every now and then, very rarely. But yeah, moving on. we can see that there is some earnings this week. Nothing to really kind of shout about. You can see the big tick on there. That's Nike. That kind of signals the end of the earnings run for me at least. I don't know about the UK. Does it signal the end?
Yeah, so I think for me, I'm looking at Micron and Accenture. Those are two other names apart from and Nike. I mean, I have a pretty decent position in Nike, along with a lot of leap calls. So intently looking at Nike, it's actually pretty undervalued at this point in time if you are looking for some swing trades. But yeah, that's
awesome. You heard it here first. Nike a swing trade idea. But yeah, we've got Micron as well, which I didn't actually realize was on there until you just mentioned it, and the chart looking pretty good heading into that as well. Sebastian, we see you. We love you. Welcome back. Obviously, HIMX, MTLS, and GRAB as well.
All
Okay,
right.
you can write them down.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've got Raminder's suggestion.
IWM. Yep.
Yeah,
I got.
awesome.
Yep.
We'll definitely get into those, and that's just a little reminder actually while we're here to stick your tickers in the comments down below, because we can basically look at them, get some ideas, and obviously help you guys out as well. So with that, we will move on to the first chart of the day, which is the SPY chart. As I mentioned before, a bit of a flat week. We kind of see that the kind of trading basically happened within this kind of zone of 603-ish to 607. I've kind of drawn the chart. I'll just keep talking here for a second. I've kind of drawn this area from 598 to 604 just because of the kind of noticeable volume on the side here. So you've got lots of volume around at 598 and quite a bit of volume at 604, but basically nothing in between. We can see obviously the strength that came in on Friday and a little bit on Tuesday as well. But I'm just thinking if we do lose that kind of low there, if we just shoot straight down to that kind of 598 level, and that could be an interesting intraday trade for anyone who's looking. Obviously, it's not financial advice, but it's just kind of how I perceive the chart at this moment. Would you agree there, Kay, or do you see something different?
Well, there's I think so there are a couple events this week which was going to impact both SPY and QQQ. So number one, we talked about the FOMC rate, which is on the Wednesday. And then this week, particularly, is the quad witching day. So if you don't know what quad witching day is, I'll put the link in the description. I'll actually give it to SHAUN. He can post it here as well. You can go check out what quad witching day is. It's basically all the 4 different types of expirations are happening. So keep that in mind, because our options data for put to call is 2.26. So a lot of call options, a lot of put options expire, and they are in millions. So we have 3.3 million put options expiring and 1.4 million call options expiring on 12/20. So pretty massive day. They happen like 4 times in a year. So keep that in mind. That's also going to happen, along with a lot of companies, a lot of professional investors are going to be doing tax loss harvesting. So along with these numbers, I think it's going to be pretty interesting this week. But I think for now, the trend hasn't really changed for SPY. I will still be bullish. It may be a pullback to this level and another, a leg higher.
Yeah, I thought you were going to continue talking then, the way you ended that. Yeah, it could be another leg higher. I mean, you can see that kind of support line I've got at 604, so it could just bounce off of that on Monday and continue chugging along. Often in bull markets, you do get these kind of spots of 3 or 4 days where it just kind of pulls back and makes you think, but then just goes back onto its original track of kind of going upwards. Interesting for Sebastian here, Filecoin has doubled its market cap since last week. So that's a good sign of perhaps things are getting a touch frothy in the markets. Thank you for that, Sebastian. And Henry as well. Could Palantir NASDAQ news be buy the rumor, sell the news? It is very, very possible. Obviously, we'll never know for sure. But obviously, it is possible that it could be a sell the news event. It is very, very toppy at the moment, Palantir. But it just keeps going. We said this at 60. We said this at 70. I think I don't know where it is now. Maybe 67-ish. Not too sure off the top of my head. But yeah, it could well be for sure. And that happened Friday, I believe. So yeah, that's that one. Should we move on from SPY?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did post a video in the private chat. You can put it on the main chat. I can't do it on myself.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll stick it in the notes in a second.
Okay.
So QQQ, looking a little bit different to the SPY. Obviously, we can see the SPY kind of traveling sideways, but the QQQ accelerating a bit more this week, though, this previous week. And a really interesting doji candle on Friday. It came all the way down to kind of 527 ish thereabouts, and in the same day we went up to kind of 533. and then just stopped right in the middle, right at the end. I don't know if you caught any intraday moves there, Kay, but I'm sure quite a few people did catch that. But the thing is with dojis, it basically signals an indecisiveness within the market. Would you agree there, Kay?
100%, and that indecisiveness is basically waiting for the FOMC, right?
Exactly right. These candles normally come towards kind of big news events, FOMC, CPI, anything related to the election that happened this year, of course. Any kind of big earnings as well, perhaps. Apple, Microsoft, that kind of stuff could be potential kind of decisive day. But yeah, I've drawn out a similar sort of pattern to the SPY. We'll go back to the SPY. You can see that kind of zone in between 598 and 604. But subsequently on the NASDAQ, it's actually the 514 to 522 level I'm looking for, with that kind of gap fill line at 517 as well. So just a few things to look out for on the chart. Not saying any of this is going to happen. You could just, like we said earlier, just keep chugging upwards, which is the most likely outcome from near term at least. But those are the levels I'm looking for if we were to take a downturn, and I wouldn't be playing them down there. I would just be kind of getting in for further upside if it got to that point. I've kind of out of breath on QQQ. Anything from you?
No, that's pretty much the same. We see a similar trend with the put to call ratio, because of the quad witching day, a lot of options are expiring. So
awesome. All right. That's the SPY and QQQ. We'll head into the first chart of the day. I'm just going to try and move that out of the way. Meta. Now, this one has been going like really, really well. And I pointed this out actually embarrassingly 2 weeks ago at this level, thinking, oh, if it breaks, I'll get into it and go for a nice trade. And I kind of did, because I saw it happen with this one and Microsoft. And I thought they're both kind of moving together, so I'll just buy the QQQ instead, like the NASDAQ futures. And played that trade. It went really well and passed the challenge that I was in at the time. Which is really good, but I did actually miss the individual stocks of Meta and Microsoft. But the reason I bring this up is very, very simple. I just basically wanted to come back down to 600. So if we get a little bit of choppy price action this week, we might just get Meta platforms back down to kind of 600, in which case that would be my typical breakout trade. So you can see lots of touches here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 as resistance. All I wanted to do is come back down as support. And subsequently, we do have a bit of volume here on the right, and we will probably have that blue line, which is the 20-moving average, come up to that kind of rough time at the same time. That makes sense. I'll be posting about it throughout the week on X, so do go ahead and follow me on X there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for Meta. Anything you see differently, Kay, or you're in agreement there?
No, I'm in agreement. So you're looking to buy around what, the 498 level?
What chart are you looking at? This is 600.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the weekly. That's why. Sorry.
So 600 is what I'm looking at for a short-term kind of
swing trade
up to highs of 630.
Okay.
40-ish.
Okay.
See you later, Sebastian. Enjoy your dinner.
We have some requests here. So I've captured all the requests. We'll cover them once we finish with the picks over here.
Yeah, we've also got something here from MongoDB thoughts. It's probably more aimed towards you into your kind of area.
Yep.
Yeah, no. So I put it on the spot there, didn't I? I don't actually know much about the company, so that's why I've kind of pointed towards you. I know
I actually will have to see. I mean, we look into the chart, but I have not. I know they reported earnings last week. I have not seen the earnings report.
We'll stick it on the list and we'll get to it a bit later.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And if not, I'll look into the earnings and I'll probably make a video out of it. That might be also a much better one. But yeah, we'll definitely cover it from a technical standpoint.
Awesome. I'm excited about this one, so I'm going to take a drink of water before.
Oh, this is the DraftKings?
It is. And this one excites me because not only did I miss it the first time and then the second time, I've got a third opportunity here to get into it. And the reason I like it is because my favorite word in trading is confluence. On the left side of the screen, we have the weekly chart. We can see it basically played out an inverse head and shoulders. You've got the first shoulder here, obviously the head, and the right shoulder here. And obviously it subsequently broke through that kind of neckline and it has gone up to 45.70, as we can see, and trailed back down. The reason I like this is because that neckline is supposed to be kind of a strong support resistance. So I like that initially as a kind of support line. Coming in also on the weekly is the 50 moving average as well, which you can see in past is not the best line of support, but it does respect it somewhat around that kind of level. On the right side, we can see obviously the daily chart, which is also pretty nice. Got that $40 level, which I've mentioned the last couple of months. We've got the 200 moving average, which is the red line, and again, obviously the 50 moving average on the daily, which is the white line. So plenty of confluence there. We've got 3 points there and 2 points here as well on the weekly chart. And basically, it's a simple move from 40 to 45 back up to there, but I'll actually be looking at 50. So if we go back to the left side of the screen, you can see the weekly chart. It kind of topped out at about 50, probably just shy of 50. So that would be actually my first point of target profit. And then obviously I would take 2/3, 3/4 of the position and just let the rest run, which is, yeah, that's basically it. Hopefully
do you already have a position in drafting, or are you planning to add a position?
So on Friday, I was looking at it and I thought about it towards the end. But then my asset allocation at the moment is a little bit skew-if, so I need to have a little bit of a play tomorrow morning and reassess my kind of position levels essentially and see what kind of entry I can get for it. I would like an entry around about 40, but I'm not too precious on that because it'd be a bit more of a swing trade, and I'm not too. My entries don't have to be perfect on swing trades, you know that.
Okay, and then basically you are betting on the fact that with the sports season, ramping up in the first half, we'll probably see much better performance from DraftKings. And
exactly right. And you can see down the bottom here on the left, you can see the kind of badges where it says E. That's the earnings reports. Red, green, red, and obviously one coming up in kind of February time. So it could be almost a trade going into earnings and perhaps taking some through earnings, but obviously not the whole position because that's super risky and I don't really like to do that. But yeah, I mean, Q4 was a massive, massive quarter for DraftKings. Everyone knows that. And that'll be the report that they produce on that time. So, exciting things potentially coming for DraftKings because, yeah, it's a thin stock. It's a bit of a sad stock, but it's a stock that can help us make money at least.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's definitely a potential swing trade for the first quarter.
Of course, yeah. And let's talk about a bit of risk management here as well, like in terms of stop loss. So you could originally have the stop loss like me down to kind of 34. It's a bit of a big one, but for swing trades, I obviously allocate my position size a lot lower. So I can basically afford to have that bigger stop loss. If not, obviously, if you go back to the right side of the screen, just anywhere under these 2 wicks would be good as well. But you might just get pinched out on a bit of choppy price action, especially with the news around Spike QQQ. Anyway, I've spoken long enough about DraftKings now. Yeah, any last thoughts on DraftKings?
No, I think we're good. If there are no questions, we can.
I'm excited about it. I don't know if you can tell.
I can tell you like DraftKings a lot.
Yeah. I just like really good setups, and it just looks very, very appealing to me at least. Awesome. No, I'm on the wrong page. There we go. Where to find me? You can find me on X. I do obviously charts and trades and that kind of stuff throughout the week, and kind of a bit of kind of risk management and kind of guidance around that sort of thing as well. YouTube, I've got a couple of videos coming out this week. One of them will be on Neo. So any Neo watchers that you're kind of looking at me right now thinking what's going on with Neo, then you'll find out later on in the week. I'm kind of got that plan for kind of later parts of the week. And then obviously the last little badge there is TTR, which is my trading community, which is really, really exciting. And you can find the link in my bio on X, or there will be a link down below if you're watching on YouTube. So go ahead and give it a click and have a look. Anyway,
awesome.
What are you looking at?
All right. So for these two recommendations I have, these are both SaaS recommendations. Now, these will be a long-term swing trade. I am not expecting this to move next week or 2 weeks from now or 1 month from now. This is more like a long-term 2025 swing trade. And let me first give you the thesis behind both of them, and then we look at the technical. So in 2023 and 2024, all the hyperscalers were busy buying NVIDIA chips and other chips, building data centers, building the infrastructure for AI. Now, in this particular earnings season, you started seeing enhancements or started seeing impact of those AI infrastructure build out in certain software stocks like CRM. So if you follow CRM or you're not aware of CRM, Salesforce, what they are focusing on is they are saying, we are building these agents that will become like developers, and then they can do the job. So we don't need too many developers or human beings to do the job. So long story short, what is happening is that slowly the AI is seeping into the software side of the shop. Now, when it comes to so now that is a thesis that we expect in 2025, the softwares will have a much better run and some ROI on the AI investment that they have done on the infrastructure side. So yes, Nvidia is there, AMD is there, Broadcom is there. Those will remain good plays. But if you want some asymmetrical bets, these are the ones. So Okta, being in the cybersecurity, has been down 10% for this year. And Sean will remember this was my pick for this year, that Okta will do good, but we were down 10%. We'll cover that next season or in a couple of weeks from now, our picks for 2024. However, as you can see right now, as the momentum is shifting and as the AI revolution is picking up with all the other software stocks, Palantir is a classic example. I believe that there is a good trade setup and a good swing trade setup, which will be much longer. Could be a quarter, could be 2 quarters, could be 3 quarters. For in 2025, we will see this. I expect at least a 16% upside for a gap fill. That's being very conservative from here onwards if you build a position. But of course, you should also have a stop loss if you're doing a day trading. Since I'm looking for a longer term swing trade, I'm not having a bigger stop loss. I'm going the options route of selling cash secured put, getting assigned, and then selling covered calls while also running another cash secured put. So I'm doing a different strategy. I'm not just buying a stock and selling a stock. So this way I will continue to lower my cost basis throughout the weeks and months and wait for that upswing as I build up on the portfolio. But I'm going to stop here. This was more of a thesis from why I think software is going to do much, much better. And the next pick is even better than Okta. But Sean, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I can tell you've done your analysis and you're kind of passionate about this one in terms of the direction it could go. I like it as well as from like a purely technical perspective. Obviously, I don't know too much about the company, but you kind of alluded to it there with your analysis. But from a technical perspective, I like to break out trade. No stranger to that. I like it to kind of break out of this range and trend line, fill that gap, and obviously there will be a little bit of a sell at that gap. So I anticipate it to come back down to that kind of trend line, and then that would be my entry point. So that's probably about 86-ish, thereabouts. So I'd be looking for entry there, and obviously going back to kind of all-time highs as part of a swing trade. So holding on this for weeks or months, depending how long it will take to get there, if it gets there at all, of course. But if we obviously just on top of that as well, if we see a little bit more of a downturn, I'd like to see support at these peaks, which I don't know where that is exactly, but it looks about 78. So that if you are looking for a bit of more of risk on kind of attitude, and potentially I might get into this as well. I prefer this entry up here, but you could actually get the entry down here, which looks about kind of 78. Whatever these 2 points.
78, 79. That's the price.
78, 79. Awesome. Yep. Thanks, Kay. So that kind of area, it really appeals to me as well, just because you've got two kind of resistance points, and obviously it might just be coming down to kind of retest that. So it's like a little mini breakout trade within itself. So I'm really, really happy you brought this one up. I've never actually traded Okta at all. You mentioned obviously at the beginning of the year as your kind of pick for the year. I looked into it a bit there, but never actually really kind of took off. But I really, really like the setup here, Kay. Thank you for bringing that up.
Awesome. And then, I always love looking at gap fills. And as you can see, we had this big gap down in September. We kind of have a little bit of a gap fill done. So if you would have gotten it around the $65, $68, you still made a decent amount of an upswing trade. So that's why gap fills are important, or the gap ups or gap downs are important to make that trade. So that's enough on Okta. Let's move on to the next one. And
yeah, before we do that, we can just notice that Sebastian literally took about 11 minutes to eat dinner. That's rapid.
That's too fast.
It takes about 40 minutes to eat my dinner.
I hope you chewed your dinner well.
Anyway, okay.
Let's move on. This one, so same idea. Difference is that SaaS stock is on the cybersecurity phase, and this one is true AI automation. So UiPath, ticker symbol Path, was always into automation of business processes. So if you work in corporate, you pretty much understand what processes means, like steps of tasks that people do. UiPath and similar companies in this area, they automate a lot of these manual tasks. And with AI coming into the picture and they building agents to help the robots do the job, this is just going to get bigger and bigger as we go. Now, this particular stock saw a downtrend. This stock used to be trading around the $22, $23 mark, and then pretty much it slid down. You can see this big gap down that we had. The stock actually hit the low of 1037. And most recently, we have seen this little bit of an uptrend, especially with the AI revolution catching up. So same thesis. If you're looking for just the gap fill from here onwards, you're looking at from $14 to an $18 upswing. But if we will be in that bullish uptrend, and with the AI revolution, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we can go back to the $22, $23 mark before we see change in pattern, or we could continue to see this. But this is also a stock that I would say is in my long-term swing trade. So this is not, again, a 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 2 month. This could be entire 2025 to play out. But when it will play out, this is going to be the asymmetrical bet compared to, just like if you bought Palantir at $9 and now it's $80, right? Something similar on path.
You brought up my favorite setups this week on Okta and Path, and I'm very, very thankful. And the reason I say it on this one, obviously the last one was a trend line breakout. This one's a bit more of a horizontal breakout. So you can see the resistance here around basically 14, let's say, and then again here, and you've drawn that line really perfectly kind of in that 14 level as well. It looks to be kind of bouncing off for a second time in the last kind of couple of weeks, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I like this to continue, like you said, for all the reasons you mentioned, to kind of fill that gap and then perhaps go higher. And another point I like as well is the RSI is kind of sitting at 50, which is really, really nice considering it's made that move. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, and it's sitting there almost perfectly at $50. I mean, you can't actually see it. Hang on, I forget that people can't see, but yeah, there you go. Right in the middle there, 50, and you can see highlighted in the blue that it is actually essentially 50 on the RSI. It's a really nice setup here as well, Kay, and for the reasons you mentioned, actually kind of fundamental-wise as well, it's exciting for the future of Path. Maybe this one will be your pick for 2025. Who knows? We'll find out in a couple of weeks what our picks are for 2025. So if you are new to this, then obviously stick around for every Sunday. We'll go through that when it comes up, basically, whenever the new year turns. Yeah, perfect, Kay. Anything to add for this one?
No, that's it. Those are two picks for 2025, especially on the asymmetrical bets.
Yeah, and I love them both. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Hang on. There we go. Where can we find you, Kay?
Yes, you can find me on X. I continue to post every single day, pretty much different ideas. Sometimes it's more technical, sometimes more fundamental analysis. So definitely follow me there. YouTube, I've started my videos again. It took a 1 month hiatus before coming back. I did a video on Uber, so if you are interested in Uber, go ahead and check it out and see if you like it. And Substack, I'll be doing some summarization as we go through in 2025 for different stocks and earnings report. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like your video on Uber as well. It's quite interesting considering how much it's been beaten up as well. Just before we move on to the next session, we go back to Path. Sebastian asked, why did it fall so hard in June? I believe it was related to earnings, potentially.
It's earnings, it's change in management. And in general, the SaaS companies across the board, whether you saw Snow, whether you saw Datadog, whether you saw CRM, every single SaaS stock has taken a beating. And the primary reason was you step back in 2022, because I used to work in SaaS environment. The problem was our sales cycles were getting longer and longer. So the companies, their budget, they had cut down on the budget because of the higher inflation rate, and they were consolidating their tech stacks. So they don't want to spend money on newer products or expanding current vendors. So all SaaS companies saw that decline. Now that trend is slowly changing, and as the inflation rate starts to come down, interest rate starts to come down, what's going to happen is they're going to give up more money. Money will be available for companies to start borrowing it. As soon as the company starts borrowing money, guess what they do? The first thing people do in the companies, they go buy new softwares. And that's where these companies, or these software companies, not just this particular company, most software companies will benefit from that trend.
Awesome. Very exciting stuff coming from these companies, I believe. Right, let's get sorted into the audience request section of the video.
Yep. Yes. So the first one is from Sebastian. We talk about Uber. We have Grab, and we have MTLS.
How many we've got in total, roughly?
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Nice, perfect. Got half an hour to roughly go through them all. Right, here we go. The chart is ready. Awesome. What did you say the first one was? Oh, I wasn't listening. Uber.
Yeah.
You might as well talk to this one since you did a video on it. We'll touch on it a bit.
I think it's pretty clear that Uber has been really beaten down to, I don't know, it's a pretty bad, considering, like, again, this is my asymmetrical bet for 2025 and beyond. So this is not, again, a short swing trade, week to week. So if you go and look at the fundamentals of Uber, this company, generates about 44 billion a year. And considering its fair value, it's trading like 20-30% down from the fair value. The fair value for this stock is about $154, $155. The stock is around what? $59, $60. So I think from a long-term standpoint, if you want to get into Uber, now we can debate on whether you want to get into a $59 or $50 or $40. That's up to you. That is again, because it's not a short-term trade, I'm looking from a long-term perspective here, which I feel like I can double or triple my investment. So little different mindset. So I do not mind owning Uber at 59, because guess what I'm going to do? As an options trader, I get as a cash secured put, I get premium, I lower my cost basis. I sell a covered call out of the money, I get premium, I lower my cost basis. So I'm going to use that approach to build a position in Uber while lowering my cost basis. However, if you cannot afford 100 shares and you are looking at a smaller account and you want to buy stocks, then I would agree that we should wait for a little bit trend reversal. You could get the stock in the 50s rather than high 50s, or you can get it in the lower 50s. That's my take on Uber. But yeah, you can go and watch the full video for the full analysis. I've done that.
Yeah, and with that, if you what was I going to say? Yeah, so obviously I buy shares. I don't do any options trading, so I would be looking for a bit more of a pinpoint entry as opposed to what you just said, where you like to kind of average your cost basis, which is absolutely fine. That we both have our different strategies, and that's why I like doing this, because we have different perspectives on different charts, and that's how we kind of come up with some of the ideas. I thought I'd just bring up quickly the Uber kind of fundamental side of things. Obviously, gross bookings increasing nicely. You can just see basically everything is from bottom left to the top right. The one that really points out for me is this net income. Not only is it increasing, it's increasing at a rapid rate in the last couple of quarters. So it'd be interesting to see if they can really improve on that in the next quarter. And things suggest that it might actually be doing so. Obviously, the shares increasing is not ideal, but that happens with this type of company. Anyway, back to the chart. I've got a zone drawn here from 58, and the actual line. No, sorry, not zone for 58. The zone is actually from 60. Ish to kind of mid 58, and the line I've got is 58.50. Doesn't have to be there, just kind of roughly there, especially from a swing trading point of view. And then breaking this kind of trend line as well would be ideal for Uber. I feel like we spent quite a lot of time on Uber, so maybe we should move on from
yeah. And then of course, just to cover on the last things on Uber is you can definitely go watch the video, so you'll understand the fundamental side of why we like Uber as a stock. And if you are going to buy stocks, you can probably, what Sean said, you can wait for a better entry point if you're not doing options.
Yeah, exactly right. And part of that is having a bit of patience as well. I mean, we've had it with snow this year as an example. We might just get a little bit of price action, which might end up like this for the next kind of couple of months. Yeah, just kind of chopping around this area, and then you kind of wait for that break, and then it moves up to kind of volume profiles, etc. So that's something to look out for as well. If you want to, you can start a position here, thereabouts, whatever you want. But obviously just be aware that it could take some time for anything to actually happen. And
one other thing I would like to just add. So when you are going to trade Uber, think of your time zone. My time zone, the way I'm looking at it, is a multi-year trade here. Because I'm expecting the Uber will go back to its fair value. It's undervalued as a stock. So this might be a longer term play, could be an year, 2 year out. If you're doing shorter term, then your entry has to be very precise and exit has to be very precise, so you can make that quick buck and get out of the stock.
Awesome.
Okay. Next up is Grab.
My neighbors are having a party. Can you hear it?
No,
No, that's good. Good news, because I can hear it. It's very annoying. But yeah, Grab. This one's been, Sebastian's mentioned it a few times in the last couple of weeks, I believe. And I've had a few comments around it, just from other people as well. A lot of people like Grab, and I do like Grab. And I mentioned the fact that I've actually used it quite a few times when I was in Bangkok. Good company, but pretty much just Uber. And then there was rumors around Uber kind of buying Grab, and I guess they probably still could. But yeah, technically it doesn't look great, I think, on this level. We do have, obviously, kind of looking to break the 20 moving average on the daily at least. And obviously I've written here buy question mark, because I've done some analysis since obviously Sebastian mentioned it. And I think we might have touched on it last week perhaps, but my buy zone is literally 442. I do like to draw zones out a bit more now, so I'll quickly just draw that. There you go. So that's kind of my buy zone. I like that to kind of, that's where I would like it to go. Any thoughts on Grab?
No, I think the setup looked definitely much better. But if you are looking to get into it, I think we should wait for the RSI to come down a little bit more. This could be a good spot, but I would target the 498, 497. That's where I feel comfortable.
Yeah, so that, again, that's a little bit more high risk for me as well. You can see here on the weekly, the 200-week moving average is coming in as resistance quite heavily.
I see.
So it's four basically topping wicks. What I mean by that is the price action has come all the way up here, but it's been pushed back down and the candle's closed here. Maybe I can zoom in a bit more so people can see. 1 wick, 2 wicks, 3 wicks, 4 wicks. There's lots of resistance there on the weekly charts. It's 4 weeks in a row where it wants to push down. Obviously, it means nothing with these stocks. They can always push higher. It's essentially a penny stock, but I'm still remaining patient, and I like the buy zone around this area here, for sure.
Yeah. And then the gap that we have around the 456 area, that is a drop of 13% from here onwards.
So that's interesting. So I mentioned earlier that I don't like the price action now. So what I could actually do is short it from here to here. But at the moment, I'm not really shorting stocks in this market. It's very tricky to do so. So yeah, that's you could do that as well, potentially. It's not advice, but it's kind of a perspective that we've kind of obtained here.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Next is MTLS. I've never heard of this.
MTLS. It's Materialize NV.
Okay.
Seems to be going pretty well in the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's up 20% for the year.
Any rough idea what they do?
Yeah, they provide additives, manufacturing, and medical software and 3D printing services in US, Americas, Europe, Africa, Asia. Company operates through 3 segments: Materialize Software, Materialize Medical, and Materialize Manufacturing. Seems a very complicated company. Seems like they do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, all-time highs of $85, $87. We're currently at $7, so it's had its run, that's for sure. That was back in the 2020 boom. Just trying to find any sort of technical range here.
They do have a buy rating, by the way, from Wall Street as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So people are obviously looking at this company.
Actually, they have a strong buy from Wall Street.
Sebastian says zoom out, and I've done that. I've kind of been doing that throughout this kind of speech. And yes, it has definitely got a long way to go. Perhaps if it does continue on this path, I'd be looking at the 200 moving average for the weekly, which is currently at 12, as initial resistance, perhaps. I'll zoom in so people can see that a bit more clearly. But there's nothing to suggest, perhaps, maybe there actually. Got a couple of touches and support back in kind of June of 23 and March of 23. If it comes back down and retest that, maybe you can move up today. But again, it's a pretty tricky trade to take if you are going to get in that.
That's a 66% upside.
Yeah, that the upside is very attractive. I can see why people like that.
Yeah.
I can see why exactly Sebastian brought it up. But yeah, awesome. I like that actually. It's not too bad. I'll keep it. I'll definitely add it to the box.
Listen, if you have some house money and you want to throw it, or you want to take a risk, these plays are like that.
And I'm sure lots of people have house money from the year they've had. Obviously, the SPY being up 30%, and the QQQ is similar sort of amount as well.
Exactly. All right. Next up is AMD.
Oh, I have to.
Oh, love it, love it.
You can have this one.
Okay. So, what is this zone that you have drawn?
It's my buy zone.
So are you buying that? So let's start with that. Are you buying? That's my question. Since it's
I am buying, yeah.
Okay. So I had to kind of shift the trend line, because the stock actually did break that trend earlier, and like 3 days in a row, the stock was down below that. I'm still bullish on the stock because I think the retracement that has happened since its all-time high has gone overboard in terms of, but I will also say this in general, barring AVGO, which just reported earnings, most of the semi stocks are not doing as well, or they have lost the, how do I say this? AMD, Sebastian says, advanced money destroyer. That's a good one. But most semi stocks are not doing very well. Just like Nvidia, AMD, Qualcomm, they're pretty much sideways trading or trending downwards. What is your take? For me personally, I am already building into my position for a breakout, and that will happen at some point in time, and I'm just buying into it. I like semis for a long term. But what is your take, considering it might be a shorter term trade for you guys? I'm again looking for a more asymmetrical, long term swing trade on AMD.
So you're looking for basically almost getting into it, kind of DCAing, sitting on your hands and waiting for all-time highs at some point.
Yeah, not just all-time high. I just wanted to break the 200-day SMA. So 200-day SMA is 157, which is from current point in time. If I draw, it's an upswing of 23%, 24%. That's what I'm, aiming for. That is my game plan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been on a similar sort of path as well, because swing trading can be up to kind of 6 months or so generally, and essentially you can get this move easily within 6 months, especially with a stock like AMD with the sector it's in. Another avenue of getting into this as well could be SMH as well. So you could get SMH, and I think the other one's called SOXX, which is kind of semi.
Yeah, SOXX. Yeah.
Obviously, Nvidia will be the main player in both of those ETFs, but you do get a bit of exposure to AMD. So you could say it's a little bit more of a safer approach to potentially the semiconductor industry. But as AMD, I mean, I've kind of got what I think on the screen. So I'm kind of looking to buy in anywhere between 121 and 132. Obviously, the lower the better, because obviously the cost basis will go lower, and eventually, if it does go up, it makes more money on the upside. Contrary to that, obviously, we do have basically a trend on AMD, which is it's going down. So you do need to be aware of that and have a stop loss in place. I think mine is around kind of 118 at the moment currently, but I would be open to moving that potentially down, depending on what my losses are at the time, and if I see potential upside. Coming for AMD in the future months, down to kind of 113, as you can see on the screen. So it's a little bit, and obviously moving stop loss is a bit of a dangerous game, but depending on your position size and what your overall allocation is in your overall portfolio, it may not make too much difference. So just be aware of that when you're kind of trading or even investing, really, in that kind of sense of the word. Anyway, that's AMD.
Yep. And I think it goes back to, again, what is your trading style? Are you swing trading? Are you day trading? Most of these are swing trades. These are not day trades. Day trades, you'll be looking at a much shorter time frame, right?
Yeah. And it's not like we don't touch on day trades. We do touch on day trades throughout the kind of each session, especially more towards maybe me. You're a bit more of a long-term outlook, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I do like a little bit of a short-term trade. Swing trades can also be a couple of days. So
yeah, exactly. Next up is IWM.
This one's been going fun. So I actually did a bit of analysis in this midweek. I'll keep it very, very simple. But what's this, the weekly chart? Yeah, so it's obviously recently hit this as resistance, but it was also resistance back in November of 2021. I think I alluded to the fact it might be creating one of those kind of cups of tea. What's the pattern called?
Cup and tea handle?
Yeah, tea handle. Cup.
Yeah. What is that? Let me see.
Cup handle. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Someone put it in the comments.
Yes, cup handle. Cup and handle reversal pattern.
Yeah, so what that is basically, I'll draw it out kind of while I'm here. I've got a bit of a brush. And you can see the main cup, which is poorly drawn, and then you've got the handle, which is expected to come down to the nearest volume shelf and then push back up again. So we could actually see a natural resistance, natural kind of pushback down to this level of 222. We'll stick that in there now so people can see. I'll have to colour a different colour. So that 222 level, so if we get a bit of a retracement down to 222 in the next couple of months, I'd be looking for it to kind of make a bit of a base there, perhaps over a period of weeks, and then obviously make a move back up to kind of all-time highs, and then essentially break through that eventually. So we might get that move next year, who knows? But that's my kind of overall thoughts on IWM. Maybe if we break it down into the daily, yeah, I mean, you've got a 50 moving average there, a little bit of support, so you might be able to play a little bit in between there. But that's, yeah, that's a different video, should we say? I can talk about IWM for quite some time, but I won't. We're pushing on for time. We've got 15 minutes left.
Let's do the next one, HIMX.
HIMX, awesome. Let's do that. I've not heard of this one before either.
Let me see. Let me find out what it is then.
It's gone up a lot in the last couple of days.
Is it a penny stock as well? Let me see.
I should know. Yeah, you're right, Sebastian. Not quite.
Semiconductor. So fabless semiconductor provides display imaging processing technology in China, Taiwan, Philippines, so Asia, and Europe and US.
This is a bit of a high risk breakout trade. At least that's what I see. And that's probably why he's brought it up. So you've got previous resistance here, kind of June, July area. We could even bring that up maybe slightly. It doesn't really matter too much.
Oof.
Let's just say 850. It's gone all the way up, obviously, on Thursday. Massive price movement, very, very tetchy, and retraced. But a few buyers came in on Friday to push it back above that 850 level. Maybe we can make another move higher. So it's a very high risk trade, and I'd probably have a stop loss just below this wick, just in case it shot down, which these ones do tend to do. But
so the news was that they may be a supplier for NVIDIA.
Okay, well, we've had that before. Yeah, we've had that before. This just goes to show you, if you zoom out, this is the weekly chart. We have a massive kind of resistance point here of the 200 moving average for the weekly. And you can actually see on the chart visible evidence of it touching that level. So support, resistance, support again here, resistance, resistance, and again resistance, resistance, resistance. Back in July of this year, so it's even recent resistance. So just be aware of that as well if you are looking at this particular name. I won't be trading this, but yeah.
All right. Let's move on to next one, which is your favorite, Palantir.
You keep saying that, but I haven't covered it for a while. Well, there's nothing much else to say apart from what's on the screen. This year has gone up a massive 380%. It's come down a bit since then, but still 350%. That's not bad, is it?
Not at all. I think everybody who was already in this position, congratulations to all of them.
Exactly. And the company is doing great things. They've got a number of contracts which are just keeps propelling their kind of estimation, the valuation, a lot higher and higher. I can't remember what their PE at the moment is. But
let me ask you this question, and I think that's what probably people want to know. Are you buying Palantir at these levels, or are you going to wait for a retracement before buying?
No,
what are your thoughts?
Okay. I'm nowhere near buying it, and the reason for that is the weekly RSI. I think I mentioned it to someone during the week somewhere. I can't remember where exactly, but the weekly RSI is sitting at 85, which you don't get very often on a weekly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will say, "Oh, but are you shorting it because of that?" I'm not shorting it either because of the hype around it at the moment. It's just not worth it. Not worth the stress of getting into it and seeing it go to 80, go to 90, and then you're thinking, okay, so should I be buying it instead? And I've been down that road before in my early trading days. And it's not a nice one to be. If it breaks, basically, if it breaks a trend line or something like that. So, for example, if it breaks the 20 moving average, I might think about a short-term trade down to the 50 moving average. It's a very simple strategy that within the trading communities is in between moving averages. But again, it's not top of my priority list. I don't really want to see it go down, but I do anticipate it go down at some point.
And I think I agree with you. And honestly, there are many content creators on YouTube that are pushing Palantir and pushing kind of like it's going to go higher. Again, nobody knows. It could go to $100 too.
Yeah.
The point is, let's say you buy at 76, it goes to 100. Are you going to sell, or are you going to hope for it goes to 150 from there onwards? That is where the problem is. So if you know exactly where you will enter and where you will exit, regardless of what happens in the future, then that's fine. You can trade it. But if you are, hoping that you will become a millionaire by investing in Palantir, you should have done it at, $7, $8, $9.
It's hard to tell them that now, isn't it?
The risk to reward is getting tighter and tighter, right? So people who got in at 20s and 30s, they have already double, triple their money right now, or people who got it 7, 8. But when you're getting 76, the downside risk is much higher. And, I actually have drawn all the gaps it has created. The first drop that's going to happen for the first gap fill will be 43% down from the current price. The second would be 53, third would be 67, and fourth would be 75% down. Now, are we going to have all those gap fills? I don't know. Maybe in next 5 years, we'll probably see all gap fills occurring. But again, the first drop itself is a pretty massive gap fill, which is 40%. So I agree with you. I'm not touching it. It's just too hot right now. Unless, you already have a position and you're running covered calls, then that's a different situation. Next up is Square.
Square has been going quite well recently.
Yeah, so this was another problem when I was looking at all the stocks to show what are the different trades that we can take. This is a problem because every single stock like these are up now. Like if you should be in Square all the way for this entire year, basically, in the range of 60 to 72, right? That was the range it has been trading. It has broken through that range now. Currently, it is hovering around the 20 SMA. For me, it has already, I'm not getting into Square at this point in time. I'm just waiting. Again, it is also a beneficiary of Bitcoin because it ran up. That's why Square is also running up along with other factors.
They hold it on their balance sheet, is that right? Yeah.
Sorry?
They have it on their balance sheet.
Yeah, they have on the balance sheet. Yeah. They
not a bad thing to have in your balance sheet at the moment, is it?
So they will hold BTC in the reserve. Yeah. So
I do actually like this
for a long term, but it's not like a Palantir, which is going on the AI revolution, theme, or Tesla going on the AI revolution theme. So you have to understand the theme. This is not a thematic stock. This is a good long-term fintech investment, and it took advantage of because of the Bitcoin running.
Yeah, and it's just doing its thing, really.
Yeah, but if Bitcoin is going to hang around $100,000, then you come back to the fundamentals of the stock again.
I don't mind it because you've got a bit of a breakout trade on the weekly chart. So if you wanted to get a bit of a long-term swing trade, or perhaps even just adding to a longer position, like an actual investing position, I don't hate adding at 83 to 88. If you are holding it from down here, and you want to increase the position, that's a thought to kind of add it around 83, 88. But yeah, like you said, I won't be getting into it anytime soon for an actual trade.
All right, next up is MongoDB, and I believe they reported earnings and the stock is down. I don't know the reason. I'll have to do a little bit deeper dive into understanding what happened with their earnings. But just from the standpoint of this, downfall, I think the 259 seems like a good support level. So we have to see if it can respect that and bounces from there. And if not, we continue to see a downtrend. That's all I can say at this point in time. I'll have to look into the earnings report, honestly, before I can say anything.
Yeah, I've got nothing really much to add on this one. It's not really a stock I cover too much. I didn't even know what they did until earlier. So
yeah, I mean, what I'll do is I will definitely make a video on MongoDB.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That'd be good for not only me, but obviously the viewers watching right now. So yeah, so whoever brought that up, we are sorry about the kind of coverage there, but KAYE's going to do his own separate video. It's going to be so much better than what we're doing right now. So be anticipation for that.
So next up is RKLB. I think this is
Rocket Lab.
You know this one? I have heard it. I've never.
Yeah, it's basically a rocket company that has done exactly what it says on the tin, and it's gone to the moon.
Wow, 341% year to date. This stock.
This is actually a stock I was looking at. Oh my! This is what happens. Sometimes when I go back to trade, go back to my charts that I haven't looked at for some time. I drew it out perfectly. Look, so yeah, the kind of bull flag was down here. Went really nicely. I thought, okay, good, nice upside. Ever since then, it's just absolutely exploded. I mean, what's it at now?
It's a $24, and it started with $5.31.
See, from that kind of bull flag that I drew, from there to where it is now, it's gone up 295%, and I missed every single percentage of that. And yes, you are correct, Sebastian. It does look exactly like a rocket, this chart. But sometimes you miss them, sometimes you get them. This is one that we both missed. But yeah, no, congratulations to anyone who's got in this and ridden that ride. Obviously, it's smart to consider taking profits. I'm not telling you to, but it's smart to consider taking profits after such a massive run. So I do urge you to kind of think about your kind of investing decisions if you haven't done already, which I'm pretty sure you might have done. Anyway, that's what I have.
So one thing I will just caution people. So this company makes a revenue of $100 million, and the market cap of this company is $12 billion. Eventually, fundamentals do catch up with the company. So you cannot be a $15 billion company and make $100 million revenue. It's just not going to work. It may go up in short term, and the short interest is 10%. 11% almost. So keep that in mind. It's in its new territory. It's all-time high. It could double from here, also triple from here.
Okay, it looks like it's trying to as well. This is a potential another bull flag set up as well. So kind of peeking out of that bull flag at the same time. So
keep your shots, stop losses and exit criteria is pretty tight if you're getting into this one.
Exactly right.
All right, next up is another favorite of mine, ASML. And I think the viewer asked, what did they ask? They said, what do you think of ASML? Should we load the boat? So if we draw this trend line from the downtrend line, it's at a very, very crucial point. We want to see if it actually breaks that trend. Yeah, exactly. That's the trend line. And then from the bottom, you're coming down from the bottom. So we had this bounce off at the bottom where it's consolidating. Yeah, that one. Exactly. Yep. It's at a very nice spot. And honestly, I started building out a long-term position around the 660, 670 to slowly add. This is pretty expensive stock. So, you will probably, if you're trading options, you need a pretty decent sum of cash. But yeah, buying a stock, 2 stock, 3 stocks. But yeah, I'm building this. So I don't know what you mean by load the boat, depending upon your asset allocation. If you are putting 10% of your portfolio in it, I think it's not a bad idea to dollar cost average on ASML, considering it's also a monopoly in what they do in the semiconductor space. So that's my take on it.
I like it. I've got a question for you kind of related to kind of semiconductors as well. If this moves, so there is basically a potential in this chart, just from a chart point of view, to really accelerate this move, because you've got lots of volume profile around this kind of 720 level. And you can see clearly that the resistance will be not only because of this resistance, but you've got the 200 moving average there, kind of 871, which is a 20% move. Would that move SMH, which is the ETF? Was it too small of a position in that?
So let's look at SMH. Let me see if I can get the.
I think it is in there. It's like 7th or 8th or something down in that line. So
I think SMH has the I think Nvidia is the biggest position, right?
Nvidia, Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yeah. So Nvidia is 22%. Taiwan is 13%, Broadcom is 7.5%, and then everything else, ASML is 4%. So it will impact, but what generally happens is semiconductors, they move together. So if there is a very bullish momentum on other stocks like Nvidia, AMD, it will start to pull the other stocks as well. Like for example, AVGO as well, right? It's a 7.5%. I like honestly ASML. So another viewer asked, "Science is real. Will it go? Is there a known support region?" So 700 was definitely a psychological level, but I would say if you're really looking for a support level, this level of 658 and 662, that range was really where a lot of people started to get in. But the level of 695 going to 711 has a very big volume shelf. So plus being a psychological level, and the stock has been really beaten down to from its all-time highs.
Then I guess the two other questions, science, of will it go down one more strip? We don't know. But there is also a possibility of it coming down. I mean, we've got lots of semiconductor stocks kind of at a pinch point. We've got Nvidia kind of trailing around its trend line / 50 moving average. And we've got AMD obviously kind of at support as well. I don't know what Taiwan Semi is doing, but lots of different semiconductors are doing kind of very pinchy things that could go either way. You would assume it would go to the upside because of the current market we're in, and obviously because of how important they are for society. So we'll see what happens. They obviously could go lower, and there could be more of an opportunity for future.
And honestly, from my perspective, I'm treating ASML more like a long-term play here from an investing standpoint, considering it's a monopoly, and not like a short-term trade. So I don't mind if it goes down. I'll dollar cost average to the downside as well. So I'm not treating it as a trading opportunity here. Okay, so I think we have 3 more, and we got a request for, so Newman asked Square, VSAT, and Coin. So we did cover Square, so you can go back on the stream and check out Square. But let's cover EL first.
We'll have to go through these pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly, yep.
So Estee Lauder, okay, someone's into a bit of their makeup. Not looking good. At weekly resistance here on the 20 moving average, it seems to respect it quite nicely. So it could, generally get another leg lower, perhaps maybe a double bottom in place. So I'd be looking at that for sure. If we
they need to break the 20 SMA for us to be interested, because if it gets rejected again.
Yeah. So I like it potentially back down at 65, but I won't be buying it because I'm not really a stock that I'm into.
Okay, ACMR.
ACMR, sorry. ACMR. ACM Research. Oh, not too sure what they do, but it looks pretty ugly on the weekly chart. We've got a really nice trendline rejection that took place twice almost. So we've got obviously a trend line moving up nicely, came back down, broke it, came up, retested, moving down, again retested and moving down. Seems to be finding a little bit of support around this area, the kind of 15, 16 level. So it'd be interesting to see if it can hold that. On the daily chart, again, just a bit more misery. Perhaps if it breaks this trend line here, a very evident trend line that's on the chart. Not perfect though. Maybe there's room for upside.
I mean, it is a buy from Wall Street, so.
Is it a stock you trade?
No, I don't even know about this stock.
Oh, there you go then.
Yeah, it's great doing these sessions because you just get to hear so many different types of stocks, like crazy.
It's not reacting well to technicals at all, because even on the monthly back to October 2022, that is a textbook breakout trade, but to the downside. All the way back from October 2022 on the monthly charts, just broken it, retested it, and then obviously massive breakdown. Anyway, next one.
Oh, wait. The next one is ASPN.
Aspen. We've had this requested a few times over the weeks. Oh, not looking good. Let's go to the weekly first. Really breaking down. It's in the electric vehicle market, I believe. Yeah, where do you start? There's a bit of resistance around this area, so it could be potential support now, but I don't really like it for that just because of this support. We've got a bit of volume here, actually. I'm getting distracted by certain things on the chart. So maybe $10 is where I'd start getting interested for Aspen. Any thoughts on Aspen?
No, I don't trade these kind of stocks, but yeah, I mean it's a pretty downtrend unless you understand the fundamentals and what do they do. It's very hard for me to make any comments on these stocks. We have last two if you want to cover them. VSAT, VSAT. Never heard.
VSAT. I'd be very disappointed if it's not something to do with satellites.
Oh, you know about this stock?
No, I don't. I'll be disappointed if it isn't something to do with satellites.
All right, let's see what they do. So
Also in a downtrend. Wow.
they are broadband and communication products and services in US and internationally. They do provide satellite services, commercial network, and government systems.
Really been beaten up.
Mm.
Not too bad on the monthly RSI wise, but it's just very, very ugly. I mean, you've got a support line down here at $4, but that's still a very long way away. Not a stock I'll be trading.
Yeah, and Wall Street has a hold rating on this as well. We have a lot of downward revisions on the EPS. So
it'd be interesting to see if they dilute it or something, because it's very negative for a very long time. It's not particularly memey either. So normally with meme stocks, you haven't seen it go straight up and then gradually come down. This one's gradually gone up and gone straight down. So they're obviously not performing as people would expect as a company. At least that's my overall view. I don't know much about obviously the company, but yeah.
Next up is Coin.
Coin. We'll finish up on Coin. Sorry if you've put one in after Coin. Don't hesitate to contact me or Kay to kind of cover whatever stock you want us to cover. Obviously, I'm a bit more of a breakout trader, so if you're looking for a particular kind of breakout setup, then obviously contact me. But if you're looking at SaaS stocks or kind of option trades, then contact Kay. That's our speciality, at least. Coin's not too bad. I got a bit frustrated with this one a couple of weeks ago because
if you switch to weekly for a second, it's very interesting. So it's coming up to its last high from 2021, which was 410. It's still about $100, like from here onwards, but that's a very, very interesting. So if it's going to consolidate weekly around this 300 mark, and we see the next jump up higher, that's the next target that we'll hope for. And sometimes I feel like why didn't I buy this in 2022 when it was trading at $31? You would have had a pretty good run. But yeah,
exceptional run. Just a word of note on Coin as well. It trades alongside Bitcoin like nothing else. It's basically a leveraged version of Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, the pattern I kind of pointed out a couple of weeks ago to various areas of life was this wedge that I'm drawing now, which actually kind of respecting it still, which is good. So it could be a potential buy now if you really want to get into it. We've got lots of volume profile here on the right side, still respecting that trend line. You could even go as far as to get rid of that. Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I like it. So whoever commented on that, Newman, I do like Coin, but yeah, it's very, very volatile.
So, but I also do think that, I don't know, I think from my perspective, I think I have missed the run and I'm not going to chase it. But I think for the next run, for the next pullback, then we have in this, and it might not be for maybe a couple of years, who knows. I'll definitely be looking into Coin on my watch list for it to run, because it seems like that Coin, and I know Nate used to hate Coin a lot.
He did. Yeah.
And still does. Yeah, he still does. So I do think that it's a good play to have if you are bullish on the crypto side. And I'm assuming with the change in the government, I think crypto is going to become more mainstream in the coming years. So we will definitely get opportunities with Coin. I just don't know if we have it right now. From my risk tolerance standpoint, I probably won't get into it.
So obviously, apologies to Science, we didn't get to our Matt or Masterworks from Mr. Turtle. Maybe you can come back next week and request them really, really early so we can get on them straight away. But once again, a really good session this evening. We've had over 3,000 viewers in total. We do obviously, what am I trying to say? We do obviously thank you very much for that, for kind of tuning in. And a big thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform to kind of get us out there.
Yeah, and then we did cover 17 tickers today, in addition to the 4 tickers that we brought in. So that's 21 tickers we covered. What we can do for the last 2 sessions, if you wanted to make this announcement anyways, we can, if you have these long list of tickers, send in early. You can send it to us so that we can put that list together early. And then if we know that we have enough tickers, then we will reduce the number of tickers that we bring on the table. We can just go through your tickers first. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important we bring up a few trade ideas of ourselves. But I think if KAYE was alluding to, if loads of tickers come in, we'll maybe extend the session as well, which is quite exciting. With that kind of announcement as well, we're obviously going live next week for kind of a Christmas special. So we'll be kind of all dressed up, and be a slightly more extended session as well, which we've obviously previously spoken about. So looking forward to doing that very much so.
Yeah, so before you get busy with your family and enjoy Christmas, we can get on one session and we can cover a lot more tickers. So next week we'll have a little bit more extended session, and we'll cover as many as we get.
And we hit 300 subscribers on YouTube as well. So if you're watching us on X, which is most likely, then head over to the Trading Triangle YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. We might be doing something new and exciting in 2025. Who knows? But yeah, with that, thanks once again for all of the viewers. I'm messing up my words. I've clearly been on way too long. So with that, we'll tune out for this week, and see you again next week.
Awesome.